So, is this on? So what if the road that I was traveling did not get me where I was going to go? What if the God I believed in is not there? What if my ship doesn't come in? It doesn't matter, in my dreams, the sky is blue, and in the end of it, what is most important to me is to walk this path. Soll sein, als ich baue in der Luft meine Schlösser. Soll sein, als mein Gott ist im Ganzen nicht da. In Träum ist mir heller, in Träum ist mir besser. In Cholm der Himmel ist blauer von blau. In Träum ist mir heller, Träum ist mir besser. In Cholm der Himmel ist blauer von blau. Soll sein, als gefällt kein Mal zum Ziel, nicht der Langen. Soll sein, als mein Schiff wird nicht kommen zum Breg. Mir geht nicht in dem, ich so haben der Gangen. Mir geht noch ein Gang auf a sonnigen Weg. Mir geht nicht in dem, ich so haben der Gangen. Mir geht noch ein Gang auf a sonnigen Weg. My name is Cantor Chaplain Fran Shalin, and I've known Renee for many years, both through Emerald Court and her work in ORT. And I don't have to say to anyone here that if Renee wanted something done, it got done. And that was true. She was the one who brought me in to lead Shabbat services at Emerald Court, where that had not happened before, and helped to make dinners happen there and many things. And so I'm very honored to be here this evening, and on behalf of Renee's family, Kay and Gail and Mark and Michael, and the family that surrounds her, we take a breath. What we will have this evening is a Mariv service, a short evening service, and make sure that we have plenty of time for stories about Renee Ruchana Chama. And so we will begin on page 18. And rise for the Baruch Hu, if you will. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch hu atah Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach, hamevorach leolam va'ed. Hamevorach, hamevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch Hanayim, Baruch Hanayim. Is he seated? Let's read that first paragraph together in English. Praise be thou, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who with thy word bringest on the evening twilight, and with thy wisdom openest the gates of heavens. With understanding thou dost order the cycles of time and varieties of seasons, setting the stars in their courses in the sky according to thy will. Thou createst day and night, rolling away the light before the darkness and the darkness before the light. By thy will the day passes into night. Before heavenly host is thy name. O ever-living God, mayest thou rule over us forever. Blessed be thou, O Lord, who bringest on the evening twilight. Umavir yom umever laila, umavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzavot shemo, El chai v'kayam, Tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamahari v'aravim. Together for the Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Ahamcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, b'shachbeinu uvkumeinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla v'ahavatcha tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Next page. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, vidibatam bam, veshiftecha bevetecha, uvleftecha vaderech, uvshachbecha, uvkumecha, ukshartam leota yadecha, vehayu letotafot ben enecha, uchtaftam. Al mezuzot betecha uvisharecha yanim shema tishbal lishpatacha anochi avat olam lishpat olam becha pardeshecha ushatcha lim achrei v'hashamayim v'yetamot. Bottom of 20. Leman tiskeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim leolechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim v'hiot lachem l'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Emet. And let's come to the bottom of that page for Micha Mocha. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראובנך בוקע ים לפני משה, זה ליאנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Top of page 22. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, umavidenu malkeinu l'chaim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, v'tachnenu be'etzah tova milfanecha, v'hoshienu leman shemecha. Ki el shomreinu matzilenu ata, ki el melech chanun v'rachum ata. Ushmor tzeitenu ove l'chaim u'l'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Baruch ata Adonai shomer amo Yisrael lai. We come to the Chetzi Kaddish on page 23. Yikada v'yikada shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad divrei chirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, b'gala, b'gala, uv'zman kariv, v'meru, Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam u'lo me'omaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach, v'yitzbar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalel v'yitalal, shemei dekudsha b'richu leila, min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram be'alma, v'meru, amen. You have the Amidah on page 24. I said silently, but we'll start together at the top with Adonai. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. And we turn to page 31 for Aleinu. Rise if. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol, la'tei kedula le'otzer b'reishit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, ve'lo samanu kemishbechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, ve'gor aleinu kecho hamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu notei shamayim ve'osed haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim ima'al, u'shchinatu zo begav hemeromim, Hu Eloheinu Einon, Emet Malkeinu, Efes Ulato, Kav Katuv, Betorato, V'adat hayom, V'hashevota, Elevavecha, Ki Adonai Hu HaElohim, Bashamayim mima'al, ve'haaretz mitachai ein od. V'nemar v'hai Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, u'shemo echad. Seated for a minute. I've looked through this book a few times, have not been able to find Amalei Rachamim for us all to join in. However, there were a few of these in the back that did have Amalei Rachamim in it, and so before we say together Mourner's Kaddish to assist this family as they walk this path, as they walk this mourner's path, knowing that there are folks surrounding them and that there will be people surrounding them. Let me just read for you a translation of El Malei Rachamim, the one of compassion. This is the one that says to us, take our beloved, wrap our beloved who has died in the wings, in the arms of Shekhinah, and let nothing that they hoped for or won be lost, that it is now with us to carry it through. And we let Renee know that, we let this family know, nothing will be forgotten. And I will read this for you, and then again, I will ask you to rise if you are able. O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant perfect peace, perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of your divine presence, among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament. Unto Renee Oran, Ruchana Ohama Bat Chana Gizel Ruvain, who has gone to her eternal home. Author of mercy, bring her under the shelter of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May you be her inheritance, and may her repose be in peace. And we say, Amen. And if so, if you are able, it is customary to rise for El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Chenfei Hashchina, B'ma'alot Kedoshim Utohorim, Kezohar Arak Yamazirim, Et Nishmat Ruchana Chama, Bar Chana Gizel Veruven, Shehalcha Leolama, Began Eden Tehe Menuchata, Lachen Baal Harachamim, Baal Harachamim, Yastireha Beseter Kenafav Leolamim, Vitzror Hachayim et Nishmata, Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanuach v'shalom al mishkavar v'nomar Amen. And we turn back in these books for Mourner's Kaddish on page 32, and for those who might be chanting Kaddish for someone who has died in this last year or for a yahrzeit, we ask you to hold those names, because when we come together, we know it's just not one person mourning. We know that we all walk with joy and grief, and our job is, whatever side we're on, to walk together, knowing that at any point in time, that will change. And so we are on page 32. Yiskadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach chirutei, v'amlich malchutei, b'chayachon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imaru, Yehei Shmei Rabba Mivarach Leolam Ulamei Amaya, Yisparak v'yishtabak v'yispa'ar v'yisraman v'yisaseh v'yis hadar, v'yis halev, v'yis halal, shemei dekudisha b'richu, le'ela minko birchata v'shirata, tush b'chasa v'nechemasa, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru omei, yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Be seated. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved. And so we take moments now to share about Renee, to share about our experiences. And can I move away from this? Is that okay? Good. Because it's our job to give this family colors and shadows that maybe we're the only ones who had. And in that way, they get a clearer, larger picture of their beloved. And we've all been in that situation where someone comes up to us and says, "How are you doing?" And in Jewish tradition, we're not even supposed to ask for the first month how someone is doing, because the answer is, "How do you think I'm doing?" And the best gift that we can give this family, the heavens are radiant. That's it. The best gift that we can give this family is to tell them, to tell this family what Renee has meant, to give them stories, because that's what we do as a community. We carry those stories and we share them, and my bet is that many of us do have those stories. So we'll take some moments now and share. I don't know the best way. Yeah, okay?
I want to share something.
Okay, do you want to come up here to do that, or you want to just turn around?
Because I'm going to share every day.
You're going to share every day. That's a good thing to do.
Right, so those of you who have been with us at the other, I can, sorry.
That's okay, we get used to having it.
I know we do, so I just, for those of you who have been at the other Shiva Minions, notice that I'm wearing a different hat of my mother's for every day of the Shiva, and telling the story of the hat. Before I tell the story of the hat, I'm going to tell the story of my Mogen David. So my father had only brothers, my mother had only sisters, and when my mother was pregnant with me, my father's mother said to her, "If you have a boy, I'm going to buy you a bathrobe, but if you have a girl, I will buy you anything you want." And my mother said, "If I have a girl, I want a Marcasite Star of David on a mother of pearl background." And this is what my grandmother bought for my mother. She gave it to me when I was 40. My mother did, my grandmother was not. So the hat. So actually, I bought this hat for myself, and I wore it to Mom's, and she said, "Oh, I love that hat." And so I gave it to her, and now I see pictures of her. I never saw her wear it, but I've seen pictures of her now wearing the hat. And this hat came to me for just like context for those of you who haven't been hearing my stories. So Mom had a condition. She had a blockage in the back of an artery in the back of her neck that goes up to the brain. And when her blood pressure went wacky, as happens to dialysis patients while she's in dialysis, it can present itself like a stroke, but it's not. So Mom had one of those episodes, and she was in the hospital this time for a few days because the doctors were just like this time determined to figure out what the heck was going on, and they did. So Mom was thinking, should I give up? And I was like, what do you mean give up? You are a fighter. I'm getting to the hat. You are a fighter. What do fighters do? And several hours later, she said, "You're right. I have to fight." And I said, "That's right. You do." So we had lots of days to kill in this hospital room, and I found a hat sale. So I said, "Oh, Mom, look, I found this hat sale. And we spent, I don't know how many hours, just like looking at the hat sale. And she bought a hat that I know she wore to school one Saturday with whatever dress she found to wear it with, and everybody complimented her. I know this because she called me in the afternoon to tell me all about it. And I bought this hat, which I gave to her. But I just want to say, right, when you're thinking about giving up, there's nothing like a hat sale to make you want to live.
I'm going to write that down somewhere. Other folks like to. And say your name too. Great, thanks. I haven't seen the family in a long time, but my mother-in-law, Naomi Bell, and Renee Aran and Bob Aran would go with us to Naomi's house for Shabbat dinners. It was a regular thing. And we enjoyed ourselves, had discussions about all kinds of things. And Renee was very, you can hear her passionately talk about whatever subject was going on. And she was very passionate. And I kept up the friendship because we would see each other at temple, whatever temple we were going to, we would done a daughtery. And then when she moved to Emerald Court, I found out that she needed some help to unpack. When she had that huge house, she had a whole bunch of stuff she did not want to let go. It was very difficult. And here she is in a room, maybe half the size of this. You know, it was an apartment, and it's a nice place. Emerald Court's beautiful, but you can't take everything. And everything was in boxes, all her treasures. And I was with her and a very good friend of hers, and we were going through all these boxes. And she's pulling out things out of these boxes, and she says, should I keep this? And I'm looking at this. Now, I remember having something like this when I was a child. Okay, it's one of those fancy candles with the little ribbons, you know, and she had used it, and yet she didn't want to throw it out because it was still beautiful. But then I'm looking at it, and I said, look at Renee, it has a crack here. It's not going to hold up. Where do you want to put it? Is there anywhere you want to put it? And then she has to think about it. And she's looking at this room, and she says, you know, I don't think I need it. I have good memories. And I told her, you know, there are certain things that my daughter told me because I like to keep everything. I have to find places for things that I need to keep. You know, I think I need to keep. And so what I've done is I've taken pictures of the things, okay? And then once I have them in pictures, I can throw them away or put them somewhere or out of mind. So I explained that to her that might be a good idea to do. And we spent a good couple of hours going through all her things, and it was quite fun because she told stories about every little thing that she had. And when you say about the hats, oh my gosh, she was in the Red Hat Society, I think. Yes. And she showed me a lot of beautiful hats for that occasions when she would go out to dinner and lunch with the ladies. And she was always very colorful. Everything she wore, and when I saw pictures of her on Facebook lately, and I just remember the smile she had and how fun she had dressing in these beautiful floral dresses with the hat that goes with everything. So I will miss her desperately, and I will always remember the joy she brought to us when we were together.
So every time we've gotten together for the Shiva Minions, I never know quite what I'm going to say. But I know I should say something, but I never know quite what. And it's always comments from someone else that have like inspired me of what I could talk about. Yeah, I was going to mention that as we were packing up. Yeah, she still had some of those candles. But before I say what you inspired me to say, was I'd actually like to paraphrase something that my sister said, I think it was on Thursday or so, and that I would like to thank the congregation here for everything that you did for my mom, with my mom, over the years. This congregation was very, very important to her, and she felt that she was very important to all of you as well. And I would like to express, as my sister did several days ago, I would like to express my personal appreciation. So let's talk about how you went through everything, okay? You didn't go through everything. I went through everything because before she got to Emerald Court, where you could help her unpack, I'm the one who helped her pack. And I sat there going through her house, and I did that a couple of times. I did it after Bob passed away. We went through and packed up a lot of things, and I helped her with that. And also when she was getting ready to move to Emerald Court. And I would do all the initial work, and I'd put up a chair, and I'd sit her down, and I'd say, okay, we're going to go through these items, and we're going to make piles. We're going to make a trash pile. We're going to make a giveaway pile. We're going to make a sell pile. We're going to make a take with you pile. And the arguments we had over how many pairs of scissors one needs, and if you unpacked, you know that. It's just like, Mom, you're moving into a one-pad. It's like, I need all of the scissors. This is like, you have 15 pairs of scissors for a one-bedroom apartment. We had to negotiate down to 10 pairs of scissors. Good job. And there was more scissors when we were packing up recently than there were when she moved in. We had to negotiate how many staple removers she needed. You know, all of these things. And while I appreciate you doing that, you were probably a little bit more gentle with her. But we had some pretty major arguments about things like scissors and how much she needed. And eventually when she got there was a lot of things that she moved on. You mentioned something else that I was going to talk about too. That was so good. But anyways, I appreciate all of you very, 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 very much. And I feel like I've told so many stories over the last week. It's been comforting in a way to tell those stories and bring back remembrances. I remember the other thing I was going to say. So those of you who are parents might understand this, or kids, just the same. So when you're a parent, you have an idea about how you're going to raise your kids and the values you're going to have and what is important. But what they don't tell you when you have kids is that your kids will have their own ideas about what they find important and what they agree with and things like that. So this is another thanking my two sisters moment, because I was the youngest child, and my sisters had the battle with my mom about what was important and Judaism and all these kinds of things. And my eldest sister and I grew up we're only 7 years apart, but we grew up in very, very different times. My sister grew up in the tumultuous 60s, where there was protests and hippies. I grew up in the more relaxed disco 70s, and it was quite different. And while my sisters had the battles of what was considered acceptable, by the time it got to me, it was just like, well, at least it's not that, you know? And so I got the benefit of my sister's battles. So thank you very, very much. And at least my mom learned that you can't force your will upon your children. And I've tried, but that's a whole nother story.
Do what's comfortable either. Oh.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm Renee's grandson. I've had a hard time sharing stories, mostly just because I feel like there's just so many different memories, and it's hard to encapsulate one person's life in a story or whatever. But I will say that, towards the end, when I went to go visit her right after she fell, it was just me and her in the hospital, and my Aunt Kay had stepped outside because she needed to take a phone call, and so it was just me and my grandmother, and I was just kind of catching up with her and talking about life and stuff like that. And the one thing that I really distinctly remember about that conversation is like, she's, you know, she's talking about life, and she's like, you know, I've had a good life, and I loved in my life to take risks. I loved taking risks, whatever it was. I got the thrill of taking risks, and I thought that was so interesting about her, because the smile on her face is you could tell she was like thinking through all the different risks that she'd taken in her life and what it meant to her and how she grew from all those things. And you know, and then, you know, she also talked about how she loved to gamble too, and that was part of her part of her risk taking. And personally, I was always like, I told her, I was like, I don't get gambling. To me, like, that's just like, to me, I don't have any thrill in it, and I just watch myself lose money. So I'm like, why would, there's no joy for me here, and I have less money at the end, so it's not fun. But and I think she was a little disappointed by that. But then I was like, I've taken different risks in my life, and you know, I told her about like how me and my friends went cliff jumping like a few times, and I don't think she had a response for that, but yeah, I you know, she had a very willful personality, and you know, she lived life to the fullest. So that's just how I think of her.
I met Renee while I was sisterhood president. I got a call one day. I was going to a Disney convention. I'm walking through the parking lot, and I get this call from a woman who introduced herself and said that she's new to the synagogue. She's interested in women's league, sisterhood, whatever we called it back then, and she wanted to join, and she wanted to know all about it. So I stopped, and I took her phone number, and I gave her the information, and she started coming. And I don't know what year it was that she joined, but somehow, because I don't know if I was already living in Orange or I was still in Anaheim Hills, but when I moved to Orange, I was half a mile away from her. So we used to ride together to temple and to sisterhood meetings. And so we got very close because, you know, in the car driving over, we had a lot of discussions about things. She always talked about her grandsons and how proud she was of them. She always told me about you guys, and also about, you know, Kay and Mark. And oh my God, Kay, she used to always tell me about all your travels and how you're going this, that, and whatever to see opera. And she told me all the stuff about the kids. And it was great. And, you know, she, like I said, she lived close by, and she had a party for some reason in her house. She got my husband to come, which was a miracle back then. And, and then she got to be friendly with him, you know, and she felt good that she was able to, you know, get through to him. So then, like I said, we used to have a lot of discussions, and then when she joined Sisterhood, she got on the board as the Torah Fund Vice President. And you all know she's passionate about Torah Fund. And you know she was a saleswoman for the Yellow Pages. She was so persuasive. She got so many people to become donors for Torah Fund because she just knew how to sell people. And she, you know, she just got, I don't know how she did it, but she got them to do it. And she was just so effective in that. I was always in awe of her, how she got everyone. And then, unfortunately, Bob died. And it was very hard for her being on her own. And she had tickets to the symphony, so she would pick somebody from the temple to go with her each time. I went a few times, Gail Shapiro, I don't know who else did. And oh, you guys went, okay, you guys went. So we all took turns and going, and it was fun because it was always exciting to see how glitzy she was going to dress up. She loved dressing up and going, you know. And then the final year, her and I went. I bought one of the tickets, so we used to go together. But she had moved to Emerald Court. It was very hard because I was in Seal Beach, and I'd have to pick her up, and we'd go to the theater, and it was a whole rigmarole. And then she
thinking, oh my God, would she like the big ones, the small ones, the medium ones, the ones that are like calamaries, the ones with pimentos in it, the Spanish ones? I had a heart attack. So I thought, forget this. I'm just bringing over green apples, for one of these get-togethers. And she said, you got green olives for me? It's like nothing, it didn't matter the size or what. And she had this big smile on her face. And I mean, she was just so sweet and mushy inside. We'll never forget her. We just love her.
The word Queen of Bling.
Bling.
Bling. I don't know if that's been mentioned in any other opinions, but that was the moniker that she, I think Rabbi Berman gave her. She was the Queen of Bling, and she had a beret that was all silver sequins. But it came in handy because when we did the Todarabah luncheon at the end of the year for Women's League, Renee had a jeweler that she always got a beautiful, if not one but two pieces of beautiful jewelry as a donation. And when she moved to Emerald Court, I said, she couldn't go there anymore by herself. I said, just tell me who she is, and I made the contact. The password was Renee Oran, and I got donations from, she was at the Tustin, you know the one. Yeah. And I don't know, she always gave me a card, it was always in the box of the donations. I don't know if she got any other business from her donation, but Renee must have been a very good customer because she always gave to us for a raffle gift. Yeah.
Well, I have a story. Renee and I talked Brooklyn one day, and I said, "Oh, my parents grew up," and she said, "Oh, where'd your mother go to school?" Told her that she went to New Utrecht, and Renee was like, "I went to New Utrecht. What year?" Same year. So next time I saw her, she brings her yearbook. And there is Renee Solomon, and then over here is my mom. And so I took a picture of Renee, and I brought it home, and my mother said, she was one of the very smart ones, and she always, what'd she say? She was one of the very smart ones, and my mother felt like she could never approach her, because Renee was just very outgoing in high school. So I have a picture of your mom, her little high school picture, and it's really quite, that's how small the Jewish world is.
When was the picture that you posted on Facebook? I don't know, we just found it. That was beautiful. I know, wasn't it? We've never seen it before. We've never seen it before, and like all of a sudden, like there it was, oh my God, it was such a beautiful picture. I don't know when it was taken, it doesn't have a date on it.
My stepmother did the same thing. She never dated anything, but there was always pictures. I can tell
drove by the house in Orange and we stopped and she said, I'm gonna make you breakfast. And she made us a lettuce omelet. Now, I mean, Renee was a good cook, but a lettuce omelet, who's ever heard of lettuce omelet? But we ate it, of course, you know, that's what you do. But Renee has been very involved in my life. She will even say she got me going back to temple with my two daughters, and only good things, and especially, you know, Renee and my dad were such an amazing team together. They did so many wonderful things and had each other's back 150%.
I remember when she was making the quilt for you, was it for your wedding gift or something? She kept telling me she was knitting a bedspread for you. Yeah, she kept always talking to me about that.
Yeah, we got married 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's not. And she talked about her knitting.
Well, in talking about that, actually, so my cousin on my father's side, she made also a blanket for their wedding gift 40 plus years ago. When I told my cousin about Renee, she said, please tell her children that I still use the blanket that Renee made me 40 years ago, almost every single day.
She was
And I
always
still
knitting.
have all of them.
Right.
I have my daughters, I have them all. Yep.
Yeah, can I tell a knitting story? Can I tell a knitting story?
Can you tell a knitting story? I don't know, can you?
Yeah, I can actually. So, you know, Mom, I don't know if you remember when Mom had her gallbladder out, and it was kind of a disaster, and it took her 6 months to recover from the gallbladder operation. And so she was at this rehab facility in Rosalinda, and they were having her do really stupid stuff, like, there was like a puzzle for like a 2-year-old, you know, it's like a pizza, and you put on the pepperoni, and you put on the, I'm like, why are you asking her to do this? And they said, it's good for her hand-eye coordination. So I'm like, wait a minute. I go into my mother's room, I get her knitting, I bring her knitting, oh, knit. No, she started knitting, I go, okay, are we done with hand-eye coordination? Okay, yeah.
No more pizza.
Yeah, I know, it was like, people made me crazy.
I mean, she did the most amazing things.
Yeah.
I was always amazed at all the patterns she did. You know, the sweater. She helped you work on
She has helped me many times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I also saw that she told that she crocheted.
you do?
I do.
I never saw it in. You saw it, you said, take a picture, send me. But I mean, like, she, yeah, she had to give up knitting, you know, her eyes became poor, and she wasn't able to see well enough to knit. It really made her sad.
How long ago was that?
It's sort of happening gradually for a good while. Yeah, gradually for a good while.
And that story reminded me of the other thing that you said that I wanted to talk about, and that was the red hats. So, when my mom was in that rehab place, one of the side effects of the surgery was her memory and cognitive skills were not all there. And so we did a lot of things to try and help her to bring things back. I remember bringing Monopoly once, and we played Monopoly, and she struggled with, rent was $12, and I gave her 20, and how much change is there from the 12? She couldn't figure it out. I mean, it was really, it was a long road. But one of the things that really helped her is that I went back to her apartment, and I got her one of her big flashy red hats. And I put her in the wheelchair with her big flashy red hat. And I wheeled her just to walk other places, and she sat so proudly in that wheelchair that so she could like show everybody her red hat. Her memory wasn't there, but that red hat was like.
Stories to be continued. And at the end of Shiva, it is customary for the family to take a walk around the block, to say that they can move from a smaller space to a slightly protected larger space. And so sometimes folks will join you in that walk around the block. So maybe at some point y'all can get out hats and very big hats and parade around the block. I think that would be quite a tribute to your mom. And so we'll close this part of our service now, and do continue to share these stories. You'll think of them and go, oh yeah, there's another one. So thank you for that. And we say to you, again, as was said to you at the cemetery, we say, Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'tok Shar Avlei Tzion V'Yerushalayim. Hamakom is one of the attributes of God, which means the place. Hamakom, the place. God is in the place. But it also means us. It also means these hands. May these hands, may this community, may your mother's community at large comfort you as you walk your way back to life.